All right. Welcome to SoFlo TV again, everybody. It's your host with the most. Listen, a lot of people have been saying, SoFlo, please talk about this TEKASHI6IX9 thing as it develops. As you know, Takashi has taken a stand and has testified against multiple people. He has given so much information. One of the leading prosecutors said that he is giving up information on people they did not even have a radar on. And now these people are actually on their radar. He's given up information that they weren't even thinking about. He's led them to new cases. He is a star witness. I personally said before that, and I still think that he is in the right complexion for protection, if you know what I mean. All right. He's going to get a big deal out of this, and he's probably not going to do too much time behind bars. He was the secret weapon in taking down a organization that was extremely powerful and brought in millions of dollars per year illegally. Now, the New York Times says, can Takashi disappear after testifying against the Bloods? Everybody knows Bloods and Crips, gang, 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 and we all know how that goes. Snitches catch stitches, you know the rest, right? All right. Takashi, became a star witness for prosecutors, drawing death threats. Can a viral sensation now truly disappear? Would he even want to disappear? You know what I'm saying? And that's the question that's out there. Could he disappear? Could he go into the witness protection program? Because that's one of the deals that are on the table for him. So for 3 short days in this month, September, TEKASHI6IX9, the rapper, was back in his element. And when they say his element, they're talking about before the camera, trolling, getting the spotlight. He was blowing up the internet again, but this time it wasn't for his music. Abandoning his brand as a professional agitator, a troll, the Instagram celebrity became a star witness for the federal government. That's a big no-no in this world. And he testified at length about fellow rappers from his former crew, the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods. I think you know by now that he's even implicated Jim Jones, and he's Dipset, and he's even implicated Cardi B. Now, the thing about Jim Jones is, Jim Jones has always admitted to being a Blood. If you go back and look at the past videos from Dipset, they were always waving them red flags around, and they were always standing in Blood stands, throwing up hand signs, and so on and so forth. But Jim Jones was actually caught on recording, a secret recording, yes, a undercover recording, telling them that Takashi needed to be violated. Now, we don't know where this is going to go for Jim Jones yet, but it does show that he is in the top hierarchy of the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, and he is definitely on the radar of law enforcement again. But when 6ix9ine, whose real name is Daniel Hernandez, stepped off the witness stand on Thursday, he stepped into an uncertain future. The debacle has all but tore down his credibility in rap world, where fellow performers have branded him a snitch. His safety is similarly suspect. The 9 Trey gang has not historically taken kindly to being double-crossed and has already threatened to kill him once. He said, this is 6ix9ine, he said, I knew I was going to become a target. This is what he said in court. I knew they were going to try to hurt me. He said this in court. Mr. Hernandez was in court, this is Takashi, was in court to testify against 2 of his former confidants, and he was on the stand testifying against Anthony Ellison, who's 31 years old, and El Jeremiah Mack. Mack is 33 years old. In a sweeping racketeering and firearms case prosecutors brought against the gang last year. For hours last week, Mr. Hernandez walked the jury through the inner workings of the 9 Trey, a prison gang which has deep roots on Rikers Island. And they were huge in the 1990s. Now check this out. Takashi took the stand and he gave details. He even called the prosecutor forward and gave them the secret handshakes, taught them how to do the handshakes and everything. In doing so, the rapper may have decimated any remaining goodwill he had left in the rap industry, as he became both a punchline and a pariah, the subject of intense online debate from his one-time peers, who expressed astonishment at the amount of information that Mr. Hernandez had provided. So there's a lot of people in the rap world that are saying, damn, dog, you told stuff they didn't even ask about, bro. You could have just said, yeah, no, and told what they asked about. You could have sometime even have said, I plead the fifth. You could have sometime even misled them, but you just gave everything. Like, they literally didn't really have to ask much questions. Every question from Takashi was probably answered. Like I was saying, every question from Takashi was probably answered with a full paragraph, 4 sentences long. He was telling every single thing. And in doing so, the rapper may have decimated any remaining goodwill that he had left in the rap industry, as he became both a punchline and a pariah, the subject of intense online vitriol from his one-time peers, who expressed astonishment at the amount of information that Mr. Hernandez had provided. People like Snoop Dogg, Future, Lil Durk, they all shared memes. They pointed out words denouncing 6ix9ine as a snitch, with Meek Mill writing this message. Message of the day: don't be a internet gangster. Be yourself. Yes, and I think that should be a very important message to the youths of today, because the youths of today seem to think that it's okay for someone to kill people, sell drugs, and then rap about it, and that's what makes them real. One time gone, people used to be rappers that were actually storytellers, and they would tell stories about things that they saw growing up in their environment, you know, people that they might have grown up with, and the crazy things that went on around them. That is not making it today. Today, the youths want you to actually do it. And if you're not actually doing it, or closely associated with people that are doing it and making waves like on the news, then you're not the it guy. And this is one of the things that got Tekashi actually so popular, because he was involved in real beefs that played out in the streets, with gunshots being fired and everything like that. That brought a lot of attention to him and pushed his record sales. Now, in the attention economy, just knowing that 6ix9ine might open his mouth somewhere is like shipping platinum. And now we talking about Minya Ho. Minya is best known as Miss Info. She's the founder of the hip-hop news website, missinfo.tv, and she's the former host on the rap radio station Hot 97 in New York. She calls 6ix9ine Saga a Greek telenovela tragicomedy. And she predicted that he would face a complex conundrum upon being released. Curiosity would be at an all-time high, but within the hip-hop community, so would animosity. In the attention economy, just knowing that 6ix9ine might open his mouth somewhere is like shipping platinum, she said, because everybody's going to be running to him to get that story. Could we write a bestseller book, sell 100 million copies, make another $100 million, be on the Forbes list, all that kind of stuff, be on the New York Times bestseller list? It is all possible. So in the attention economy, just knowing that he might open his mouth somewhere is like shipping platinum, she said. But nobody with any of their own value will ever stand next to him, because you don't want to be branded as a person that's what? Supporting a snitch. So, co-signing a snitch. So, he has to exist in a vacuum, and he cannot leave his house. All this is still doable for an artist in 2019, going forward into 2020. Labels would not be so ready to allow their artists to work with him, though, said Miss O. But they all think that if he gets out, or when he gets out, he will be a big draw. Mr. Hernandez pled guilty in January to racketeering, conspiracy, and 8 other charges. And 6ix9ine, which is Mr. Hernandez, he faces a minimum of 47 years in prison. If this cooperation is successful, prosecutors agreed earlier this year to lobby for a lighter sentence. Now, I've explained to you before, when they say 47 years, we call those football numbers. Nobody ain't trying to do no 47 years. Anybody got time for that? So what we do for 47 years is we snitch. We tell every single thing we know, because I'm not trying to do 47 years. Could you imagine being 22 years old and you get 47 years in prison? You coming out at what? An old ass man, right? No, not doing it. So what he did was what most so-called gangsters do. They told. If his cooperation is successful, the prosecutors agreed that they would lighten his sentence. And right now, 6ix9ine is actually looking at probably walking away from all this with time served. That light of a sentence. So, his utility as an informant has an inevitable expiration date. That means, right now, it soon will be expired. What's going to happen to him in a few days after this testimonial case is over? Mr. Hernandez could testify in other potential trials, and he could stem from the government's case against the 9Trey organization. So 6ix9ine has told them so much that there are people that are on their radar now that were not on their radar before. They went and picked up a whole lot of other people that they probably never would have picked up had he not opened his mouth. So what is going to happen at this point now is they are going to need him on the stand again to testify against more people. And I remember one prosecutor saying the more he testifies, the lesser his time gets. The more he gives us, the lesser his sentence gets. And once they told 6ix9ine that, he started giving them everything. He gave them stuff that they had no idea existed. Prosecutors have indicated that he could enter the witness protection program. That's his best bet. Such a path would not be unprecedented, because he wouldn't be the first to do it. The government has successfully relocated and protected high-profile witnesses in the past. Let's not forget, stool pigeons, mobsters. Mobsters have started over as bakery owners and reformed assassins. People with like 10, 15, 20 bodies have found new careers as doll salesmen. 2 former federal law enforcement officials have said. Despite how connected we are and the appetite for social media content in this country, please know that there are places where if 6ix9ine gets a haircut and wears normal clothes, no one would know or even care who he is. This is said by Jay Kramer, who is a former FBI official who worked on organized crime cases and has put many people into the witness protection program who are doing quite well today, I might add. There is almost nothing in Mr. Hernandez's background that suggests a capacity for discretion, and it is unlikely that the United States Marshal Service, which runs the witness protection program, would pay for the removal of all his face tattoos and stuff, because you know he would have to remove all that crap from his face in order to truly go undercover incognito. The rapper, whose rainbow hair color has now faded to its natural black, he transformed into a thoughtful, conscientious narrator in court. He paused frequently to translate street slang to the jury. He made sure that they understood every single thing that was going on. Nobody was able to speak in codes and get away with it, because 6ix9ine was telling. So he was translating all the street slangs. He even asked the lawyer to explain large words, and he requested a clarification about questions. That Mr. Hernandez landed in prison because of his affiliation with 9Trey is less surprising than his reinvention as an informant. A lot of people are actually surprised. The Bushwick native linked up with the gang in 2017, and this is what he said. After his first international tour in Eastern Europe, at that time, 6ix9ine's bizarre mashup was actually of heavy metal and hip-hop. But it was confusing and compelling to the rap world, but his style shifted considerably that same year when he returned to Brooklyn and partnered with the 9 Trey Gang. His multi-platinum breakout single, Gummo, featured several purported members of 9 Trey in the track's music video, which went viral. So he went to Europe on a small tour, he made some money, he came back to Brooklyn, and the gangsters swooped down on him. And they said, look, it's extortion time, homie. Check this out. We can make you blow bigger. We'll give you all the street cred you need, all the clout you need. And he's like, shit, I'm down. They were like, look, you got to drop that heavy metal stuff, though, because it doesn't really sell. Let's go straight gangster. Let's go straight gang, gang, gang. And he said, I'm down. And he did. He went with it, right? That's what people liked, he said. He said people were in love with his gang affiliation. It was just a formula, Your Honor. It was just a blueprint that I found, Your Honor, and it worked. Mr. Hernandez, who had amassed a gigantic internet following, became a sort of a cash cow for the 9 Trey leadership. He said, including Mr. Ellison and Kefano, aka Shotty Jordan. And they both collected tens of thousands of dollars from him each performance that he had. Mr. Jordan pleaded guilty to federal firearm charges earlier this year in connection with the case and was already sentenced to 15 years in prison thanks to that and the testimony of none other than Mr. TEKASHI6IX9, aka Mr. Hernandez, the teller. Mr. Hernandez's profitability made him a coveted token in the 9 Trey hierarchy. Prosecutors said that Mr. Ellison and Mr. Jordan began warring. So you had 2 top bloods that were warring over 6ix9ine. Like, I want him. Nah, I got him already. All right, bet. You gonna give him up, right? And what happened is Ellison kidnapped him and robbed 6ix9ine last summer because he is the cash cow. I'm pleading with him. This is 6ix9ine on the stand telling the judge and the jury. I'm pleading with him, he said to the incident. I'm like, yo, I'm scared, yo. Please don't hurt me. I'm scared. I have a daughter. I have a 3-year-old daughter at home, man. Don't do nothing to me. The alleged kidnapper, alleged kidnapping rather, which was widely covered at that time, would be the catalyst for Mr. Hernandez unraveling. By November, he had publicly renounced 9 Trey. That's when he got on, I think it was the Breakfast Club, and he was like, I fired my management. I don't want none of them around me no more. And bam, I was tired of being extorted, he said. His repudiation was significant enough that the gang began discussing how to punish him for his disloyalty. According to wiretaps, the threats were deemed credible, and officials with the FBI actually visited Mr. Hernandez to offer him protection, which he declined. So when he ran up to Charlemagne and them, and he said, look, I dropped all my management, this, that, he was already under surveillance. They already had them wiretap, had all the conversations, and the FBI was scared that they were about to make that threat real and actually kill 6ix9ine or harm him really bad. So they approached him behind the scenes the night before he ran up to Charlemagne and Angela Yee them up there, and they said to him, look, these people you involved with, they mean you no good. They're about to kill you. Do you want our protection? And he was like, nah, I don't want y'all protection. I'm good. I got my own. I got myself, right? He didn't know how deep it was going to be. Days later, Mr. Hernandez, so check this out. Days later, he and 11 other reputed 9 Trey members were arrested and charged in the sweeping racketeering and firearms case. So he didn't think that they were going to pick him up as well, but they picked him up and everybody else, right? This is after they approached him to tell him that the people that we about to pick you up with, they are plotting to kill you. 24 hours later, after he was picked up, Mr. Hernandez rescinded his previous declination to the FBI, meaning